Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. I hope that you are all good. In today's video we're doing a Valentine's French with a black and red ombre tip, so I hope you all enjoy watching. I have already applied my tip and a thin clear acrylic base so that we can jump straight into the design. And to begin with, I'm going to be creating my extended nail bed, and I'm using CJP Fantasy for this. So I've picked up a medium to large size bead of acrylic and placed it down on the nail. And I'm kind of just working with it whilst waiting for it to polymerize. The room I'm working in is really cold because I leave the heating off in here until I come in, because otherwise it's just way too hot. But it does mean when I first start doing nails, the acrylic is a little runny due to the how cold the room is. So I just have to take my time to work with it a little bit. And as you can see, I'm doing that just by using my brush to keep it in its shape that I want the smile line to go in. So I'm just making sure I bring these side walls in, and as it's polymerizing, I'm able to mold it more into the shape that I want. And I'm trying to get the shape as perfect as I can with my brush, because then I've got less filing to do. As I've said in previous videos, French is one of those things I've always struggled with. So I've decided I'm going to try and do at least one French nail a week, and just to really practice. So hopefully I'll have a few more videos up doing them. I'm blending out the back of that bead into the natural nail, as you can see, so that when I apply my next bead of acrylic, it hasn't got a huge ridge to come over. And then I'm just trying to make sure that these side walls of the extended nail bed match up and they're symmetrical each side. And then once I'm happy with that, I'm going to come in with my second bead of acrylic. So I've picked up a slightly smaller bead and placing that down at that cuticle and apex area, pushing it up towards the cuticle and getting it as close as I can. And then I'm going to pull this down over the previous bead of acrylic just to build up the thickness and make sure that my apex is there. Now this bead went a little bit wrong, to be honest. So I'm just blending that out, making sure that there's not too many lumps and bumps in it. And then because I wasn't 100% happy with how neat the cuticle area is, I'm just coming back to that zone and tapping it up into the cuticle area a little bit more, just making sure it looks nice and neat. And I'm smoothing over that acrylic to try and keep it as neat as possible, but it didn't go 100% to plan in this particular nail. It wasn't very neat, and I did end up doing a fair bit of filing at the end. I'm just coming in with another small bead just to build up the apex a little bit, because it was looking quite flat and this is quite a long nail. And I'm just blending that over the previous bead of acrylic and making sure I keep my side walls as neat as possible. And then I'm going to leave this to fully set before filing it crisp. I have done a lot of the work with my brush, but I just want to make sure that those side walls are crisp and that they are symmetrical to each other. So that's why I'm going to come in once it's set with my 100 grit file. Now this is slightly tricky to do on a practice hand. I'm working on the Flexihand here, but I only have short nail tips in my beds, so it does make the nail tips slide around a little bit. So I'm doing my best to support it and hold it with my fingers, but it does make filing a little bit tricky. But to file my smile line, I'm basically holding my file as flat up against the acrylic as possible and just making sure that the sides match up and that, like I said, it's a nice and crisp. And then because I felt as though the surface of the acrylic was a little bit uneven, I just come over and filed that slightly, just so that when I push my next coloured acrylic up against it, it's got a nice even surface to go up against. Then I'm going to make sure I really scrub away all of that dust. So I've sprayed some alcohol spray onto my nail brush and I'm just giving the nail a really good clean. And then I'm coming in with my black acrylic. This particular one is from Glitterama. And I'm starting off by taking this right down into those wings. I want the black to really pop against the French nail bed, or the extended nail bed, sorry. So I'm making sure to get that right down into those wings. We don't want there to be any gaps there. Really pushing it up against the acrylic. It doesn't matter if it goes over the extended nail bed, because we will file away all of that excess at the end anyway. So I like to just make sure that there isn't any gap. So I personally prefer to take it over a little bit. But as I said, I am not an expert in French. It's one of those things I really struggle with. But I'm just making sure that right around the extended nail bed is fully covered with the black, and then I'm blending it out slightly down towards the tip. And any noise you can hear in the background, I'm at home homeschooling my little one today and she's just doing some colouring. So I thought I'd get this voiceover done. But if you can hear anything in the background, that is her just chatting away to herself. Now I'm going to come in with Simply Red, which is also from Glitterama, and I'm placing that down at the tip area. So I'm working with small beads here because black and red ombre is a little tricky, and we're not doing a whole nail, we're just doing the tip of the nail, so that made it a little bit harder. So I thought I would work in small beads, just working up the nail to create that fade. So with the first bead, I've focused that at the tip area and getting that opaque red tip, and then I'm blending it out. I do come in with another, I think 1 or 2 beads to perfect that ombre, just because I wanted it to be as nice as possible. So that's why I'm working in small beads. If you were a little bit more confident doing this, you could probably do it in 1 bead. But as you can see, I'm flipping my brush around in reverse and blending that red back into the black. It does help that these two colours are really pigmented, so the red, it blends quite nicely into the black. When you're working with highly pigmented colours like black and red, you really need to make sure you're cleaning your acrylic brush off before you dip it back into the monomer, because these two colours will contaminate your monomer so easily. So I like to make sure I really give my brush a really good rub before dipping it in the monomer, and then I'll just dip the tip in the monomer and give it a good clean before picking up my next bead of acrylic. Now, just to finish off this design, we of course needed some hearts for that Valentine's vibe. So I'm picking up these red holographic hearts. I think these ones are from Charlie's Nail Art. And I'm just using my wet brush to place them down on that tacky acrylic. And I'm just sort of taking them across the blend from one side to the other. And then once I've finished applying the hearts, I'm going to come in with just a tiny bit of red fine glitter, just to sort of put amongst those hearts so that it blends them in. It makes the nails look a little bit more sparkly, and it just pulls everything together a little bit more. And of course, when in doubt, add glitter. So I'm just adding a really tiny amount of this. Again, I'm just using my wet brush. I've not added any additional acrylic. Once I had finished the design off camera, I encapsulated with my CJP crystal glass, and you can see here it does need a fair bit of filing. It looks quite messy, so I'm going to come in with my e-file and a medium safety bit, and I'm just going to debulk and remove all of that excess acrylic, which will help reveal our smile line. I always find this a little bit daunting, because it's like, oh god, what if I haven't done the smile line very well? And I always find imperfections in my smile lines. It's why I want to work on them a little bit more. On this one, once I'd finished filing, I just felt as though the side walls didn't look symmetrical. One side doesn't come down as far as the other. I think I didn't apply my black thick enough, so I filed into it a little bit. But there's always room for improvement. As you can see, I'm just using quite long strokes to come down that now and debulk it, and then I'm just using the e-file to come around the cuticle as well. I'm then going to finish up filing with my hand file, which was a little tricky to film, but I thought I'd leave it in for you guys anyway. I haven't left the whole hand filing in, but just you can kind of get the basics of what I'm doing. I've shaped up the nail, and then I'm coming around and just contouring it a little bit more, just getting out any of those deep scratches left from the e-file, and then I'll come back over my sidewalls to crisp them up and make sure I'm happy with the shape again. I like to come in around that cuticle area a little bit more with my hand file as well. And then once I finish with my hand file, I'm just coming in and buffing over the nail just to make sure it's all nice and smooth. You don't want to over buff, because then your gel top coat won't have anything to adhere to. So I like to just give it a little buff just to make sure, again, those deep scratches are out. I'm then wiping over the entire nail with a lint-free pad and some acetone, just to really clean it up and make sure I remove all of the dust. And then I'm going to come in and top coat. So I'm top coating with my CJP tack-free top gloss. I'm just going to apply a nice even layer of this and then pop it into cure for 60 seconds. And then that, guys, is the end of the video. So just a short and sweet one nail design today, but I really hope you all enjoyed watching. I hope you're all keeping safe and well and doing okay. If you enjoyed the video, then please do give it a thumbs up or let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And I shall hopefully see you all very soon in the next one. Lots of love. Take care. Bye bye.